California. Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Sports Show. Today we have ourselves quite a show as we have a lot to get to in the world of Southern California sports. Such as the Lakers saw their winning streak come to an end against the Philadelphia 76ers, but bounced back. Who they bounced back against wasn't easy. And the Clippers also saw their winning streak come to an end, but they bounced back quite nicely. And both LA teams continue to do great things. And the Big West in men's and women's basketball has been quite wild, if you ask me, as there's a new leader that's been knocking on the door when it comes to the Big West in men's basketball, while women's basketball in the Big West has been all over the place. And the Kings are in a little bit of a slump as they've lost 4 in a row. Can they right to step back and get back in second or first place? And they got the Anaheim Ducks versus the Anaheim Ducks. Also, we'll look at the possibility that the Rams could possibly draft in terms of a little bit of a mock draft with the Lakers pick that they have. All that more here on SoCal Sports Show. Teran Rodriguez brings you another edition of SoCal Sports Show here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Friday afternoon, Friday morning, Friday, wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made your way to episode 214 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Without any further delay, let's begin. But first and foremost, before we continue on, let's just flip my camera real quick. The SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on StreamYard. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on several different social media platforms such as X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Also, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. We would greatly appreciate it. We're trying to reach 500 subscribers by the time the Super Bowl comes and goes. And with your help, we could definitely make it happen. So definitely do subscribe to us on YouTube. Also, make sure to check out our website, iesportsradio.com, for all of your latest sports news, our blog, our page dedicated to each podcast, our Hall of Fame, which I'm a part of, our merchandise shop where you can cop t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies for the winter, and much more. For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. A huge shout out to our sponsors, Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, and Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. So without any further delay, let's get into what they are all about.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
rising shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at @sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out our amazing sponsors, Seal the Deal Wax Seals, Plant Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, and Vital Apparel. Also check out our newest sponsor, Raw Nutrition Supplements. If you use the code IESR, you'll get 10% off on your order, and we would definitely appreciate it if you were to do so. So definitely keep that in mind. And the way you can follow Set Point or the SoCal Spring Sports Show on social media is on X, formerly known as Twitter, at SoCal Show ISR. And you can follow me, the host, personally on X as well, at Teran Rodriguez 1. All right, so let's get on with this. As unfortunately, it looks like my camera doesn't want to like cooperate, because it looks like every time that I'm right here, I can't access the banners and whatnot, which really sucks. So yeah, so I'm gonna have to like rotate it, or I'm just gonna have it like this. And this, I don't know why my camera's acting like this, but We're just going to have to do it like this, unless y'all want me to just keep rotating it every so often. Let's just straighten this out a little bit. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's talk a little bit of Lakers. So without the Chargers and Rams, I won't be talking too much about that, but we still have other sports in Southern California to go over, such as the Lakers, as well as the Clippers. We've got some college hoops that I'm going to be talking about. We got some NHL that's happening right now. MLS is still in the off season, but the Galaxy do have some questions coming up. We also have the MLB happening in terms of the off season, but soon that'll be coming. And Alden K pops to the chat room. He says, "Sup, Teran, have a good show." Thank you, Alden. All right, so let's talk a little bit of Lakers. And yeah, so the Lakers actually were on a 4-game winning streak. They were on their Grammy road trip. They started off the Grammy road trip with a win over the Golden State Warriors after they just crushed the Boston Celtics. So everything's running swimmingly for the Lakers. But then on Monday, they managed to take on the Charlotte Hornets. And despite being one of the more easier teams to take down, the Lakers had a little bit of a tough time, even though they were coming off of a big win over the Warriors. But the Lakers were able to inch their way past the Hornets, 112-107. So great job to the Lakers for basically getting past said Hornets team. And they ought to be thankful that LaMelo Ball kind of got hurt, because had he not gotten hurt, the Lakers might not have had the success that they had, because LaMelo Ball is still a powerhouse. Anthony Davis had 42 points, and he had 23 rebounds. So the fact that the Lakers needed a big game from him speaks to high volumes of how the Lakers are still – they're not as consistent as most people would like them to be, which really sucks. So they had that win right there, but they had the second – but that was actually the second of a back-to-back, as the night after they took down the Hornets, they took on the Philadelphia 76ers. And early on, it looked like the Lakers were going to cruise their way to victory, because the Sixers didn't have Joel Embiid, they didn't have Paul George. But for the Lakers, they just didn't look like their best after they had such a strong start. And it also didn't help that Anthony Davis got hurt. He had a abdomen injury, which now he's going to have to fly back to Los Angeles and get that checked out. So Lakers might not have Anthony Davis for an extended period of time. And as a result of not having Anthony Davis, the Lakers got smoked by the Philadelphia 76ers, 118-104. Now, you're probably wondering, well, why did the Lakers lose? Who torched the Lakers? Simple. Tyrese Maxey. Yeah. He had 43 points, and the dude was just automatic from the field. Like, he was not missing anytime soon. So it was very disappointing that the Lakers lost. I get it. It was the second of a back-to-back. They didn't have Anthony Davis throughout a majority of the game, but that's still no excuse. They've won without Anthony Davis, a.k.a. the Christmas Day game against the Golden State Warriors. So I'm a little unsettled or unhappy with this loss. But I guess this just goes to show that back-to-backs are just so brutal for the Lakers. And it sucks, because I think the Lakers can definitely beat that Sixers team. But sadly, especially since they beat them the first time around, but sadly they were not able to. So thankfully for the Lakers, they were able to bounce back against the Washington Wizards as they took down the Wizards 134-96 on the road. So good job to the Lakers. LeBron James with 24 points. We've got to the game was so out of reach for the Wizards that the Lakers actually got to play Bronny James in a full quarter, which I think is pretty darn cool if you ask me. So yeah, that was, and Bronny James actually did get to score. He didn't just showboat or give the fans like just oohs and ahs. But Bronny James actually did get to score. He had a grand total of 5 points, and he even was a +3 in the game, as he also had 2 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal. So good job to Bronny James and how he was able to have himself some playing time. The Lakers even got 21 points from Shake Milton off the bench, and they got 10 points from Dalton Knecht. Lakers were led by LeBron James, who had 24 points, while Rui Hachimura added 22 points. Austin Reeves had 17 points, Max Christie 13 points, and Jackson Hayes had 10 points. So no Anthony Davis, obviously, as he's obviously going to get that abdomen injury checked out. So there you have it right there for the Lakers. It's a good win right there, and it's good that the Lakers are still float. They're now 8 games over 500, which I never would have thought I'd see the day for that to happen, but here we are. And they're still leading their division, which doesn't mean too much. Anyway, so the Lakers are back in action Saturday, which is tomorrow, when they take on the New York Knicks at the Madison Square Garden. So that's going to be fun times right there. That's going to be on ABC, so that's going to be a primetime game. Always fun when the Lakers go to the Garden, especially when they have players, when they have like LeBron James. And then the Lakers closed out the Grammy road trip against the Los Angeles Clippers on Tuesday. So far, when it comes to this Grammy road trip, the Lakers are 3-1, and they could have the possibility of going 5-1 by the end of Tuesday. And then after the Grammy road trip, the Lakers will host the Golden State Warriors. So they've got a lot of primetime games. They got the game against the Knicks on ABC. They got the game against the Clippers on TNT. And they got the game against the Pacers on TNT as well. And then after that, they won't be on primetime until they face the Denver Nuggets on February 22nd, which will start the span of a 2-game primetime slot. But I digress. All right, but that is that for the Lakers, and I actually miscalculated on the Lakers and Clippers number of games that they faced against one another. They've actually only faced each other one time, and that was when the Lakers got smoked against the Clippers, 116-102. So they still have 3 more meetings with the Clippers. They got this upcoming Tuesday, and then they've got Friday, February 28th, and then Sunday, March 2nd. So a lot happening for the Lakers. And speaking of those Clippers, so the Clippers were actually back in action as well, as they still had their Grammy road trip too. So looking at the Clippers Grammy road trip, they're actually doing pretty good as well. They had their winning ways against certain teams. They actually had won 2 in a row before their Grammy road trip. They took down the Lizards and the Bucks. They took down the Bucks quite handily, courtesy of a big night from James Harden. But on Monday, the Clippers kind of met their match as they lost a heartbreaker to the Phoenix Suns, 111-109, where Ivica Zubac led the way with 25 points and 16 boards. That's when you know the Clippers didn't have their best night, because Ivica Zubac had to lead the way. But at least the Clippers still fleeced the Lakers regarding that trade. The Clippers also bounced back on Wednesday as they took down the San Antonio Spurs 128-116. So that's good for them. Their Grammy road trip isn't as long as the Lakers' Grammy road trip, as the Clippers are back in action tonight when they play the Charlotte Hornets, which they should win just because LaMelo Ball shouldn't be playing. And then closing off the Clippers' Grammy road trip, they play the Toronto Raptors on Sunday, which that should also be another easy win for the Clips. And then Tuesday, they've got the Lakers, which will be, well, I mean, technically it is a road game for the Lakers, but it's in LA. And I know it's in Intuit Arena or Intuit Dome, but still, it's still, to me, LA is still a Laker town until the Clippers actually win a ring. No offense to the Clippers, of course, but I digress. But yeah, the Clippers return home to welcome the Lakers to the end of their Grammy road trip on Tuesday, and then Thursday the Clippers host the Indiana Pacers, and then next Saturday the Clippers host the Utah Jazz. So when they host the Los Angeles Lakers, that's actually going to be the start of a 4-game homestand before they have a long road trip. They have a 1, 2, 3, carry the 2 times 4. An 8-game road trip with 2 games being against the Lakers, but an 8-game road trip, which I think is going to be quite fun if you ask me. So I'm interested to see what the Clippers will do when it comes to that 8-game roadie. And I wonder if that'll actually be their true Grammy road trip, or if it'll be their Oscar road trip. But I digress. Anyway, but that is going to do it for the Clippers and the Lakers. Clippers are also doing pretty good as well, as looking at the Clippers in the standings as well as Lakers, the two are basically lumped with one another, but both teams are not in the area where they would be playing in the play-in tournament or the play-in round of the playoffs, which is good, especially for the Lakers because they've been in the play-in round for quite some time. But the Lakers are 5th in the Western Conference, which is where they were back last week, and they're only half a game back of the Denver Nuggets, which I think is pretty cool if you ask me. The Clippers are half a game back of the Lakers and they're 1 game back of the Nuggets, but not a whole lot of separation when it comes to 4 all the way down to 11, where the Golden State Warriors are. And this is what I think Holly Rowe and Mike Breen were talking about on the Golden State Warriors Lakers game. If not, it was the Sixers game between the Lakers and the Sixers with Reggie Miller and Ian Eagle. But anyway, for the Lakers, yeah, they're obviously in 5th. If the playoffs start today, they would play the Denver Nuggets, which I think would be a complete and utter disaster. That's the team I think the Lakers need to avoid come playoff time because I just don't think they match up well with them. I mean, the Nuggets aren't the Nuggets like they were back a few years ago, back when they had that moment in the sun. But honestly, I still think Nikola Jokic is going to be a nightmare for the Lakers. And then if the Clippers played in the playoffs starting today, they would draw the Memphis Grizzlies, which, I mean, if Ja Morant is playing, I think the Grizzlies pose a huge threat to the Clips. But if Ja Morant isn't playing, he's still nursing an injury, I think the Clippers can definitely beat the Grizz. But Memphis is definitely an improved team from last year. And thankfully for Ja Morant's sake, he's not being cuckoo LeBonza in the head. So hopefully for the Lakers and Clippers' sake, they can improve their seedings. And who knows, maybe if the Clippers and Lakers play their cards right, they can be facing each other in the first round, which I think that would be really cool if you ask me. I mean, if they're the 5 and 6 seed, they wouldn't be facing one another until the Western Conference Finals, if they get there. That's barring that they can get past teams like the Houston Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder. But again, I'm looking too far down the road when it comes to the postseason. First, the Lakers actually have to make the postseason and not play in the play-in round, and that requires the Lakers to be consistent. And I still think it's rather funny that the Lakers have an average point differential of minus 0.5, which, go figure. Lakers have an average point differential of 0.5, and they're in the top 5 of the Western Conference. Either the bar isn't set all that high in terms of the West, or the Lakers find ways to get blown out and then find ways to come back and be good, be decent. But I digress, and that's just how it is when it comes to the Lakers and the Clippers. But that's going to basically do it for the Lakers and Clippers portion of the show. We're going to take ourselves a quick commercial break. When we come back, we've got some college basketball to discuss on the men's and women's side. The Big West is certainly heating up. The Big Ten with USC and UCLA has obviously been exciting, as UCLA just recently beat USC in men's basketball. And then we've got some NHL to discuss and much more. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the SoCal Spring Sports Show here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
What's up, Pittsburgh? This is Ralph Galise, the host of the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you that passionate, diehard Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, or just a Pittsburgh sports fan? Then please join me on the Injury Report every Tuesday on IE Sports Radio, the direct feed for all that is sports. And I will update you on all that's black and gold, have you telling your Pittsburgh fans and friends what's up with Pittsburgh sports. Tune in Tuesday with me, Ralph Galise, the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go!
Hello, sports fans. It's me, your boy Larry B, and I want to walk you through the world of sports. No, not just the mainstream major TV deal type sports, although those are important too. But let me be your guide through your journey of all sports, from college to the pros, the minors, and everything in between. Each week, we are talking sports galore with true diehards just like you from a hardcore fan's perspective that's sure to quench your thirst around leagues you may know all too well and some you may even discover here. That's right, sports fans. If you love sports of all kinds, enjoy hearing amazing sports stories, and respect all sports because you know how difficult any of them can be to play or compete in, then this is your show. Join me, your boy Larry B, on the defining moment each week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, and let the sports come to you.
Back with segment number 2 of the SoCal Spring Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out our amazing shows such as The Defining Moment and The Insta Report. All right, so unfortunately, again, I'm still going to have my camera like this just because it doesn't want to cooperate today. I can't have it like horizontally, which really sucks because it ruins the quality, but I guess it is what it is, and this is why the moral of the story is that having a laptop is much better than using your iPhone when it comes to using StreamYard. But I can't help it because my laptop is a hunk of junk and it just won't pick me up in terms of using StreamYard. But it is what it is. We're not going to make excuses. All right, but let's talk some college hoops, college men's hoops, as the college men's basketball race has been heating up, especially in the Big West Conference. UC Irvine is still in first place, but UC San Diego is right behind them. They are in second place. They're 8-2. They're actually 18-4, while UC Irvine is 19-3. So a lot of good basketball coming out of the Big West Conference. And a team not to sleep on is UC Riverside. They are actually 7-3 in the conference, and they could be on the up and up as well. You even got Cal State Northridge looking pretty darn good. They're 6-4. Davis, which is not in Southern California, they're also 6-4. UC Santa Barbara is 5-5. Hawaii is 4-6. Bakersfield is 4-6. Long Beach State is 3-7, despite a valiant effort against UC Irvine. Cal Poly is 2-8, and then Cal State Fullerton is 1-9. So, looking at UC Irvine, Irvine has definitely been having a fantastic season, and they have been receiving votes in the most recent AP coaches poll, and their lone loss in the Big West Conference play was a 4-point loss in overtime to UC Riverside. So the Anteaters' next game is tomorrow against UC Davis at home. Their next big game is going to be next Saturday when they host UC San Diego, which that's going to be a huge game right there. That's going to be quite big if you ask me, and it's going to be an exciting match because it's the battle of the top two teams in said Big West Conference, and I think we're in for some fireworks just because both those two teams are quite astounding. Now, for UC San Diego, they actually have one of the more tougher two-game stretches ahead. They've got UC Riverside on Thursday, so they get this weekend off to scope out some competition. But this upcoming Thursday, they've got UC Riverside, and then next Saturday, like I mentioned, UC Irvine hosts UC San Diego. That could be a battle for first place. But first, the Tritons have to take on UC Riverside, which also could be vying for first place. So the Tritons cannot underestimate
UC Riverside, especially since UC Riverside has beaten the Tritons this season in Big West Conference play. So, and that's actually both of the losses for UC San Diego. They lost to Riverside, and they also lost to UC Irvine. So the Tritons will look to get their lick back. And then after that, the Triton schedule gets a little bit more easier, but the Tritons have also won 3 straight, having recently beaten Hawaii on the road, which is actually pretty darn good if you ask me. Never easy to beat Hawaii on the road just because Hawaii is pretty talented. And then looking at UC Riverside, they've won 4 straight. And like I mentioned, they've got 2 very impressive wins over UC San Diego and UC Irvine. And those 2 wins came after UC Riverside had lost 3 straight, having lost to UC Irvine, Hawaii, and UC Santa Barbara. But in addition to beating Irvine and San Diego, UC Riverside also beat UC Davis and Cal State Bakersfield. The Highlanders are back in action tomorrow when they host Cal Poly. And then, like I mentioned, they are on the road against UC San Diego on Thursday. And then next Saturday, the Highlanders take on the Cal State Bakersfield Roadrunners. So you have that right there. So a lot of good basketball happening in the Big West, and it just goes to show that the Big West is one of the more underrated mid-majors. I think it doesn't get the biggest rap just because the California teams just aren't all that they're cracked up to be, including Hawaii as well. But I think this year Irvine is making the case that they can definitely be a team that no one wants to see in the NCAA tournament. And same for UC San Diego. My only big problem is for UC San Diego and UC Irvine is that they're not in like a Power 4 conference. So I'm certain the Big West is probably only going to get one team at the most in terms of the Big West, in terms of making the NCAA tournament. But just maybe, we can see UC San Diego and UC Irvine in the tournament. Maybe even UC Riverside. Though Riverside's 14-9, 14-8 record looks a little glaring if you ask me. Yeah, the 14-8 record for UC Riverside is a little glaring, but we'll see what happens. So that's that for the Big West. So jumping on over to the Big Ten. All right, well, I think most people are looking forward to this more so than the Big West Conference for good reason. UCLA just recently took down USC in the first meeting of the Crosstown Showdown, which I think is it's about time we got to see that. So ever since UCLA had that 4-game losing streak, they've now won 5 in a row. And their most recent one was actually a dominant with a capital D, 78-52 win over number 16 Oregon. So I'm just going to say for UCLA, I think they're getting so close to making the NCAA tournament. I would be shocked at this point if UCLA was left out of the NCAA tournament. But the next matchup for UCLA is this Monday, if not Tuesday. It's on Tuesday. This Tuesday, where the Bruins host Michigan State, which is number 7 in the nation. Man, that's going to be a tough one for the Bruins. That's going to be a real tricky matchup. And then after that, UCLA plays Penn State, and they've got Illinois on the road, and then Indiana on the road. Those are 2 tough matches right there, and so on and so forth. But I like this UCLA team. And let's actually go over their matchup against USC. So this actually happened on a Monday. Weird day to have a big-time matchup such as UCLA versus USC, but okay. Anyway, but yeah, Eric Daly led the way for UCLA with 16 points. And then Sebastian Mack came off the bench to score 14 points. And then Ade Mara had 5 blocks, and he had himself a double-double in UCLA's win over USC. Now, this was a very good win for UCLA. Never really easy to win on the road, especially since winning on the road is tough. As Mara had 12 points and 11 boards. Dylan Andrews also had 12 points as well as 6 rebounds. For USC, they were led by Rayshon Agee, who actually came off the bench and scored 21 points, which I think is pretty darn good if you ask me. Looks like Josh Cohen didn't get a whole lot of playing time because either of injury or he was struggling and whatnot. It looks like it might have been injury, but I digress. Wesley Yates III had 19 points. St. Thomas, yes, that's his name, St. Thomas. And no, his full last name isn't Aquinas. St. Thomas added 13 points for USC, and then Desmond Claude added 12 points along with 6 boards. So my takeaway for USC is this. It's a good effort from the Trojans. I don't expect the Trojans to be dominant in the first year of Eric Musselman, but at the very least, USC is looking pretty darn good in terms of like being competitive. Like, no offense to Andy Enfield. Okay, maybe not really any offense, but the players wouldn't get this type of effort with Andy Enfield as the head coach. And it sucks because Enfield did lead USC to the furthest that they've ever gotten in terms of the NCAA tournament being the Elite Eight. As my boy Ralph Calise says, good afternoon, Teran. Just tuned in a little messed up with the show times. Have a great show, and thanks for playing my drop. Let's go. And Ralph Calise said it best. Hit that like button there. Hit that like button for Teran. Yes, hit the like button for me. I definitely appreciate that, Ralph. Thank you. And yeah, no problem. I got your back in terms of playing your drop. But back to USC. Yeah, it was a tough loss for them losing to the likes of UCLA, but there is a possibility they could make the NCAA tournament. I wouldn't hold my breath in terms of that. But if they were to get like a few more big-time wins, like against ranked teams, then maybe, just maybe, USC can sneak into the tournament. And then if they go deep into the Big West, or not Big West, a Big Ten conference tournament, then maybe we could see the Trojans maybe be the final four in or the last four in. But it's still a we'll see process. So USC is back in action tomorrow when they host Michigan State, number 7 Michigan State. And then next week they've got Northwestern on Tuesday, Purdue. They're at Purdue on Friday, being next Friday. And they've got Penn State, Minnesota, Maryland, Rutgers, Ohio State, Oregon, Washington, UCLA to close off the season. So, yeah, those are some tough matchups right there. Getting wins over Oregon and Purdue would be nice, and getting a win over Michigan State would be a true signature win. And thankfully for USC, they do play Michigan State at home. The unthankful thing is they got Purdue at Purdue, so USC is going to have to really play their guts out if they want to win that one. Again, this is obviously a transition year for the Trojans. I feel that they definitely are talented. The future, they're going to look pretty good, but for now, it looks like this is going to be a little bit of a rebuild year. There is some good news for USC fans, as Elijah Arenas, one of the top recruits in, I think, 2025, if not 26, he actually has committed to USC. And you're probably wondering who Elijah Arenas is. So Elijah Arenas, if you don't know the last name by now, he is the son of Gilbert Arenas, former NBA standout, which I think is pretty darn cool. So yeah, Gilbert Arenas, Agent Zero, who played for the likes of the Washington Wizards and a few other outlier teams as well. But yeah, that's pretty awesome that this guy, Elijah Arenas, he's a 5-star shooting guard. And the fact that USC has that type of is going to get that type of player, awesome sauce. Awesome sauce, if you ask me. So, yeah, this is pretty awesome, if you ask me. And he's actually the number 1 ranked shooting guard in the class of 2025. So, great job. And he's actually, I think he plays for Sierra Canyon, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, Elijah Arenas, he plays for Chatsworth. So, good on Elijah Arenas. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for USC. Yeah, so good job. Don't worry, USC. Help is on its way. And I think this is good for USC, especially since they need all the recruits and they need to pick up the pieces. So good job to Gilbert Arenas, or Elijah Arenas, and congratulations to him on being recruited, or not being recruited, committing to USC, which I think is pretty darn awesome sauce. and hopefully he's able to kick some butt while he's at USC. So great. So there's that bit of news right there. So that's going to basically do it for the NCAA men's basketball side of things. On the NCAA women's basketball side of things, it's more sort of the same, except UCLA and USC are the juggernauts in terms of kicking butt in terms of SoCal, in terms of Southern California, which I think is pretty darn awesome. So for UCLA, they aced a big test this past Sunday while everyone was watching the championship Sunday with the AFC championship and the NFC championship, which the Rams should have been in. UCLA kicked Maryland's butt. I think they won by 15, 82-67. Regardless, it was a big win for the Lady Bruins. I think they're just continuing to show their stuff, and they're also undefeated. They're the last undefeated team in Division I women's basketball, which I think is definitely amazing. So, yeah, UCLA has just been kicking butt and taking names. And, yeah, they did win 82-67. This Sunday, they're back in action at home when they take on Minnesota. But they've got another big test. On Wednesday, they host the Ohio State. And then they're at Oregon on next Sunday, the following Sunday. Not this upcoming Sunday, but the following Sunday. And then the 13th of February, which is a Thursday, USC and UCLA will be facing one another. And that's going to be the hottest ticket out there in terms of college women's basketball. That's actually going to be a little bit of a gauntlet of a week because after UCLA plays USC, they've got Michigan State as well, which I think is going to be another big test for UCLA, even though UCLA will have the honor of playing Michigan State. So great job to UCLA. They're kicking butt and taking names. They're a perfect 20-0, and they are 8-0 in conference play. Now for USC. USC also passed a big test as well as they thumped Minnesota 82-69. While Minnesota was not ranked, this week. They're actually ranked, I think, last week before they slipped down. So good job to USC. That Minnesota matchup is definitely a tricky matchup just because Minnesota has been good, but then they found ways to just kind of slip back underneath the rug. But it is what it is. So USC is back in action Sunday when they hit the road to take on Iowa. Then they're on the road against Wisconsin. And then they're back home against the Ohio State on Saturday, which I think is going to be another big test for the women of Troy. And that Ohio State matchup is going to be it could be a trap matchup because after Ohio State, USC's got UCLA, and then to close out the season, they've got Washington, Michigan State, Illinois, and UCLA at UCLA. So before USC can look at UCLA, they got to get past another big test in Ohio State. And Ohio State only has one loss, which was a loss to Penn State, which I think most people were not expecting that. But Ohio State's going to be another big test for UCLA and USC. But I'm confident in both the women of Troy and the Lady Bruins. So we shall see what happens, and we shall see if USC and UCLA can continue their winning ways, because I really want to see both teams undefeated in the Big Ten by the time the two teams face one another in conference play, which I think is going to be awesome sauce. So now for the Big West. So the Big West in women's basketball, it's all over the place. So before Hawaii and UCI wound up picking up wins, UC Irvine, Long Beach State, and Hawaii were actually tied atop the Big West Conference standings. But now it's just UC Irvine and Hawaii. So looking at UC Irvine, they're both teams are 8-2, which I think is pretty nice if you ask me. UC Irvine did pick up a nice win over Long Beach State, winning 61-47. Now that win actually came after the fact that UC Irvine lost a tough one to Hawaii on the road, 46-42. The Anteaters unfortunately succumbed I think it was like a 22-3 run at one point of the game. UC Irvine was looking really darn good against Hawaii on the road, and it got to the point where it was one of those defensive struggle matchups. But eventually, Hawaii caught fire, and they just were not cooling off by any means. And eventually, UC Irvine just didn't have the firepower to keep up with Hawaii in the fourth quarter, as Hawaii managed to put up 18 points, to UC Irvine's 9. And yeah, when you're shooting 24.2% from the field, you're not going to be winning a whole lot of games. And the sad thing is that Hawaii only made, I think they shot 12% from three-point land, which implies that they made only 1 or 2 three-pointers. They made 3 three-pointers, so they were 3 for 25 from three-point land, while UC Irvine made 6 three-pointers. It still is not going to get the job done, and if you're the Anteaters, you got to capitalize on that. And thankfully for UC Irvine, they were able to bounce back against Long Beach State, which unfortunately for Long Beach State, that kind of puts them behind the 8 ball even more in terms of the Big West Conference standings, because they thought they were behind when it came to UC Irvine, but now they're behind because of Hawaii as well. And it sucks for Long Beach State because they lost a game that I didn't think that they would lose. They lost to Cal Poly, which was in the middle of the conference, but I guess this just goes to show that the Big West is just so confusing and so unpredictable when it comes to women's basketball, because it looked like Long Beach. I kept on saying and singing praises about Long Beach State, saying that Long Beach State should handle Cal Poly, but Cal Poly handled them 78-71, which is not ideal for Long Beach State, because had they won, they at least would have been in a tie for first place with Hawaii and UC Irvine. But now they are tied for third with UC Davis, which is not ideal. What is ideal for Long Beach State is that they actually have UC Santa Barbara, which also is in the middle of the road, and then they've got UC Davis. That Santa Barbara matchup is 100% trap game. So if Long Beach State thinks they're going to be getting an easy matchup with the Gauchos, they have another thing coming. And then looking at the rest of the Big West Conference, Hawaii and UC Irvine are both 8-2. UC Davis and Long Beach State are both 7-3. 1 game behind the Anteaters and Rainbow Wahine. UC San Diego is in 5th at 6-4. Santa Barbara, Cal Poly, and Riverside are all 5-5 in conference. Cal State Fullerton is 2-8, and then Northridge and Bakersfield are both 1-9. So that's basically that for the Big West Conference standings, and that's pretty much going to do it for the Big West Conference standings altogether. I'm just going to say this right now: the West Coast Conference in men's and women's basketball. No, it's bad. It's not good. I'm sorry, but it is just not good. It isn't good. It's bad. It's terrible. Terrible, man. Stinks. I'm sorry to say, but the West Coast Conference will never. I'm just at this point accepting the fact that the West Coast Conference in men's and women's basketball will never go to the West Coast, the SoCal teams like Pepperdine, San Diego, and LMU, which is saddening just because I would like to see all those teams that I just mentioned be competitive. But it is what it is, and sometimes you just gotta them's the breaks. That's my thing. Them's the breaks. But I guess we could also check on CBU in terms of the WAC conference, the Western Athletic Conference. And like I mentioned in women's basketball, remember when I said that Pepperdine, Loyola, and San Diego are all probably not going to be winning the conference anytime soon? Well, they're all at the bottom in terms of women's basketball. Then in terms of the WAC conference, CBU. Yeah, here's CBU. CBU is in 4th place. Well, they're tied for 4th with Charleston State. So yeah, it's been that type of year for CBU as well. Last year they wound up winning the WAC conference, and now they are right behind Utah Valley and UT Arlington, and then GC, which is just leading the conference. But that is that for women's basketball. And yeah, what I'll probably be discussing more college basketball once the NFL fully blows over. So there's that right there. All right, let's jump into a little NHL just because the NHL is still a thing, and even though the Ducks are a thing, I still got to talk about them. Also, but the Kings have had their struggles as well. They've lost 4 straight, all of which were on the road. So yeah, this has just not been a pleasant road trip for the Kings, which they're really good at home. Let's all not get it twisted. The LA Kings are kings when it comes to playing at home. But when they're playing on the road, it's a whole different story for the Royal Gray and White, which is unfortunate just because the Kings, they definitely can be a dangerous team come playoff time if you play them at home. But on the road, it's a whole different story. So, yeah, in terms of their road trip, it's a 5-game road trip. They lost to Columbus in OT 3-2 last Saturday. They lost to Detroit 5-2 on Monday. They lost to Florida 3-0 on Wednesday. And then yesterday they lost to Tampa Bay 3-0 as well. So the Kings close off their road trip against the Carolina Hurricanes tomorrow. And then Wednesday, the Kings will return home to take on the Montreal Canadiens. So hopefully for the Kings' sake, they will be going back to their winning ways, just because looking at the specific division standings, the Kings are in third place, but it's a distant third place because now they're 10 points back of both Edmonton and Vegas. And the Kings better hope they don't draw Edmonton in the postseason, because Edmonton has been the team that has ended the Kings season the last 3 seasons. 3 seasons. So I really don't want to see the Kings play the Oilers. If anything, I'd rather see the Kings play the Golden Knights. But there's even a bigger problem for the Kings because they've got company right behind them. They've got the Calgary Flames, which is only 1 point behind them. And then they've got the Vancouver Canucks, which is 2 points behind them. So this isn't looking too good for the Kings. But I'm certain they'll hold on. As for the Ducks, they actually had themselves a 3-game winning streak, beating the Penguins, Predators, and Kraken before losing to the Calgary Flames 4-1. So tough, as the Ducks are back in action Sunday when they host the Montreal Canadiens. Long story short for the Ducks, they're bad. They're not good. They're not San Jose bad, but they're pretty bad if you ask me. They are second to last in the division, and it's tough to molly for the Ducks just because it's Groundhog Day for them. They always seem to continue to do bad, no matter who they draft and who they get in terms of like the trade deadline and whatnot. So it's very frustrating to be a Ducks fan. And for me, who grew up liking the Ducks, I loved watching the Mighty Ducks, and I loved seeing them win the Stanley Cup back in 2007. It just hasn't been the same, and I just think it's just been frustrating to be a Ducks fan. And how much more can a Ducks fan have to endure? But I digress. Anyway, that'll do it for the Ducks. I don't even want to talk about them anymore. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. So we're going to take one last commercial break. When we come back, we've got some round 1 prospects for the LA Rams coming up. So keep it locked here. You're listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on iSports Sports Radio. I was hoping to make sure I wasn't going to cough, but unfortunately that was meant to be. But you're listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on iSports Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris. Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we are back with the final segment of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out our amazing shows such as Chi-Town Weekly, as well as our other amazing shows such as Philly Sports Talk. Philly Sports Talk is going to be really busy just because the Philadelphia Eagles are in the Super Bowl. Should be the Rams. But the Eagles have made the Super Bowl, and the Chiefs have made the Super Bowl. I guess I could talk about the SoCal products that will be playing in the Super Bowl, like Juju Smith-Schuster with the Chiefs. But I'm not going to get into that just because, well, for starters, this is the SoCal Spring Sports Show, not the Philly Sports Show or the Kansas City Sports Show. I ain't going to succumb to talking NFL and talking about the Super Bowl. Instead, I'm just going to talk about the Rams just for a little bit. Like I said, when it comes to the Rams and the Chargers. Now that both teams have been eliminated from the playoffs, I don't see myself talking a whole lot about both these teams until like maybe come closer to draft day. But last week I did a little bit of a possibility on who the Chargers should draft with their pick, the 23rd pick, if I'm not mistaken, if not the 22nd pick. The 22nd pick, just because the Vikings lost to the Rams in the wild card round. But speaking of the Rams, the big question is for the Rams, who will be their 26th pick? Now, here's the thing for the Rams. I did just get word that Matthew Stafford will be returning for the Rams next year, but he'll be returning to play football, but his status with the Rams is still up in the air. So we didn't know if the Rams will be probably shopping for a quarterback or they'll draft a quarterback, even though most of the top quarterbacks in this year's draft will already be gone to the likes of like maybe the Browns and the Giants and so on and so forth. But for the Rams, let's say they do bring back Matthew Stafford and maybe they bring back Cooper Kupp as well. So who should the Rams draft with the 26th pick? So as we all know, the Rams lost in the divisional round to the Eagles, and the further they got in the playoffs, the worse their draft pick was going to be. So with the 26th pick in the NFL draft, the Rams have the possibility of selecting a certain amount of players. And this was the first mock draft that I saw recently from the Rams, courtesy of Stu Jackson, beat reporter of the Los Angeles Rams. So here's some picks that the Rams might actually draft with the 26th pick. So we'll start off with this guy, Dane Brugler, offensive tackle for Oregon. So it wasn't just him. I think it was like three different writers had Brugler going to the Rams, which makes sense just because the Rams do need a lot of offensive line help. And I think this would definitely make a lot of sense. I think most of the offensive line talent will be gone by the time the Rams select 26, unless the Rams want to trade up. Well, if that happens, then the Rams are going to need to give up a pretty penny. But yeah, I think getting Dane Brugler would be great for the Rams. Get some big boys to help shore up your offensive line and protect your quarterback. Just because Matthew Stafford is not getting any younger. So Dane Brugler is a definite must for the Rams in terms of getting offensive line help. Another must for the offensive line for the Rams, if case Brugler does get drafted, would be Josh Simmons, offensive tackle from the Ohio State. So yeah, another good offensive tackle. Ohio State obviously were the national champions. They kept Will Howard in check in terms of not getting sacked and whatnot. So I think for the Rams getting Josh Simmons, I think this would be definitely a great pick if you ask me. I mean, any top offensive line help can definitely help out the Rams. It certainly can't get much worse than what happened, especially on that 3rd and 2 play with the game on the line. And then here was another pick that someone had in terms of the Rams selecting with the 26th pick. They had Malachi Starks, safety out of Georgia. So this is an interesting pick, and maybe this is a good pick. Maybe the Rams want to shore up the defense. But I'm thinking that the Rams might want to go offensive line. Don't get me wrong. Build the defense. Rebuild the defense to what it once was with like Aaron Donald and like they were back when they won the Super Bowl. But I don't know if drafting a safety in the first round is the way to go. I mean, the Chargers were able to draft Derwin James in the second round, and look at what's happened with him. He's been a stud. So I don't know if Starks will be available by the time the Rams reach the second round, but maybe that could be something the Rams look into in terms of like drafting someone in terms of like the defensive aspect of things. I mean, Jared Verse had himself a fantastic season. Braden Fisk also had himself a great season. And I'm sure every linebacker is probably going to be better in that draft than Christian Roseboom. I'm sorry to say, but nobody really likes Christian Roseboom. And I even saw on Instagram, I don't remember who the account was from, but it had the account of every team's worst player, and Christian Roseboom was the player that showed up for the Rams. So, ugh. So there you have it right there. That is that for Malachi Starks. And then one last possible pick for the Rams would be Armand Membo, offensive tackle from Missouri. So again, another offensive lineman. I definitely think this is a good pick. I definitely think the Rams could use any offensive line help that is elite, and that can definitely help them out as much as possible, just because Matthew Stafford is not getting any younger, and that offensive line needs to pave the way for the run game, whether they keep Kyron Williams or not, because that's probably going to be the big question. Do they want to keep Kyron Williams because of all of his fumbles that he's had this season, which have definitely cost the Rams games, not just the NFC divisional round, but a whole lot of other games as well. I think he had a fumble against Green Bay that wound up looming large. He had a fumble against the Eagles the first time around. That I wouldn't say that wound up costing the Rams, but it still wound up hurting them in the long run of that game. And obviously, there's going to be other running backs. I don't think they're going to want to go with Ashton Gentry or Genty. If they do, then that's implying that the Rams are going to be trading up, or the fact that the Rams, or the fact that Genty will be falling all the way down to the Rams' lap. And even if Genty falls down to the Rams, I think maybe the Rams could probably go with Cam Skattebo from Arizona State. So we'll have to wait and see for the Rams. But I think offensive line help would be big for the Rams, just because if they want to continue to protect Matthew Stafford and make sure he doesn't get beaten up or he doesn't have rib injuries, I think that it would have been so much better for Stafford. And I think it would have been a world of difference. But unfortunately for the Rams, their offensive line just did not do them any favors. It's still pretty young, fairly young. And one of the reasons why the Eagles were so successful in terms of the run game with Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts is because of the offensive line. Everyone thought that the offensive line would regress just because of Jason Kelce retiring. But I think for the Eagles' offensive line, it's still big and strong. And that's how those big boys up front were able to get in the way of the Rams' small front seven. And that's what Bobby Bobby Cash and Chris Amos pretty much talked about on their show when the Rams and Eagles were about to play each other. The Rams' small defensive line taking on the Eagles' big offensive line. And eventually that paved the way for Saquon Barkley having another 200 rushing yard game. So I think an offensive line would be big just because you want to keep Stafford's jersey clean. You got to get the run game going, whether it's with Kyron Williams or Blake Corum or so on and so forth, or anyone else who the Rams want to draft. I think the Rams could definitely move forward with Blake Corum if they don't want to move forward with Kyron Williams, but it's still a time-will-tell process. All right, but that is going to do it for the Rams portion of the show. We're going to have more mock drafts with the Rams in terms of their first pick. I'm not going to go over all their picks. The same can be said for the Chargers. This is just like round one for both teams. I did the Chargers round one pick last week, so I'll probably do like another mock draft for their round one pick next week. Same goes for the Rams, but I won't spend too much time on this. So that's going to do it for the Rams portion of the show. And then we've got the Dum Dum of the Week. So Dum Dum of the Week goes to an individual or an organization that does something stupid. It does not matter who this individual or organization is. Nobody is safe from this Dum Dum of the Week award. And I actually have three Dum Dum of the Week awards to give out. So we got to start with the first one. So remember last week when I was saying that the Dallas Cowboys have been warned to not botch the hiring process? Well, they botched the hiring process. They hired as their new head coach Brian Schottenheimer. So you're probably wondering who Brian Schottenheimer is. He was actually the Cowboys offensive coordinator. Is actually the son of the late Marty Schottenheimer, who used to coach the Chargers, who did not deserve to be fired after that amazing season that the Chargers had. But I digress. Anyway, so yeah, the Rams decided to go with Brian Schottenheimer, and they also hired Matt Eberflus as their defensive coordinator. Look, I'm not going to judge this all that much just because I'm no Dallas Cowboys fan, but what are you doing, Ram? Or what are you doing, Cowboys? You're supposed to be America's team, and you're making these bonehead hires. I'm not going to judge this all that much just because every time the Cowboys have a dreadful season with missing the playoffs, they always find a way to bounce back. But I don't know. Your division's going to be tough as is. The only thing that the Cowboys have going for them next year is the fact that there has not been a repeat NFC East champion since the 2000s. I think 2004, but I'm not certain. But either way, Dallas Cowboys, if this hiring does not pan out well with Brian Schottenheimer and getting Matt Eberflus as your defense coordinator, then you are in a world full of hurt. So I got to give you all the Dum Dum of the Week because you botched the hiring process and you hired Brian Schottenheimer. I'm just wondering who else applied for the job? Who? Like, I just don't understand. Like, was the bar set that low when it came to the candidates that were available for hire in terms of the Dallas Cowboys job? Food for thought right there. So, yeah, the Cowboys get the first Dum Dum of the Week. Now, second Dum Dum of the Week. All right, so everyone would love to have a Lombardi trophy. I think everyone and their moms would trade anything in for a Lombardi trophy. I would trade my fandom for USC to see the Chargers hoist up the Lombardi trophy, especially with Justin Herbert at the helm, and maybe with Phillip Rivers as well, back when he played, and so on and so forth. I would trade anything to see the Rams hoist up a Lombardi. And a lot of people would probably trade anything to see the Rams, to see their team hoist up a Lombardi. And especially for those that have never seen their team win a Lombardi trophy. And you know who your teams are that have never seen the Super Bowl or let alone won a Super Bowl. Well, that's not the case for one individual. So this one individual said, and I quote, he would rather have the MVP award than a Super Bowl, than win the Super Bowl. And do you want to know who that player was? Do you want to know who that person was? That person was none other than Cam Newton, who said, and I quote, I'd rather win the MVP award than win a Super Bowl. I'm not kidding you. This dude literally said that on First Take. He literally said on First Take that he would rather win MVP than the Super Bowl. Like, what? What? That makes zero sense, dude. You would rather win an individual award than a team than win the entire big enchilada. No wonder this dude didn't win a Super Bowl. And here I thought cheering for him back in Super Bowl 50 was the correct decision. It certainly was not, because even though the Denver Broncos wound up winning the Super Bowl that year, at least Peyton Manning got to ride off into the sunset. At least he had a good feel-good farewell story. But for Cam Newton saying, oh, I'd rather win MVP than win the Super Bowl, what kind of quarterback are you? Like, I think dude had one too many concussions. I'm sorry I know that's not a joke to say, but that's stupid, dude. You can't just I can't believe he would even say I'd rather win the MVP award than win the Super Bowl. Like, come on, dude. It's any wonder that no team wanted to have you back, especially the Panthers. So Cam Newton gets the Dum Dum of the Week award. He gets Dum Dum of the Week number 2. I can't believe dude literally said that on air. If it were like off the record, then maybe I would spare him from Dum Dum of the Week. But since the dude said that on air on First Take on ESPN, man, that's brutal right there. I can't believe he would say that sort of thing. So, yeah, your Dum Dum of the Week, Cam Newton. And no wonder people call this man Scam Newton instead of Cam Newton. He is a scam. He is a scam, my dudes and dudettes. All right, but yeah, that is that. Cam Newton gets Dum Dum of the Week because he might even be an early nominee for Dum Dum of the Year. But now we get the third Dum Dum of the Week. And this one actually is dedicated to Alden, my boy Alden K, host of AZ Sports Zone, or as most call him, Always Arizona Sports. So he actually wanted Dum Dum of the Week to be the NBA just because Devin Booker is not an all-star. Well, you know what, Alden? For you, my boy, I will let the NBA get Dum Dum of the Week. The NBA gets Dum Dum of the Week because Devin Booker is not an all-star. He deserves to be an all-star. He's one of the reasons why the Phoenix Suns are still relevant. And I'm very disappointed that Devin Booker is not an all-star, as well as certain others. I'm sure there are like a few other snubs that were not named to the all-star team, not named Dalton Connect or Austin Reeves, but I digress. But yeah, the NBA, I think it's safe to say that the NBA needs to either get rid of fan voting altogether, or they need to get like the peers and like the GMs, the coaches to like vote as well, because that's ridiculous. And I do feel bad for Devin Booker and those that should be an all-star not being named an all-star. But yeah, the NBA is Dum Dum of the Week because they have fan voting instead of like voting from your peers. So yeah, NBA, your Dum Dum of the Week. The All-Star game isn't even that good. It's literally just a pickup game to like a target score, which I think is really stupid. I mean, it was good back when they had the Kobe rule where they dedicated the whole All-Star game to Kobe Bryant after he passed away. But yeah, the All-Star game is just getting worse and worse. The only good thing about it is maybe the slam dunk contest, which that's a big if you ask me. At least the NBA All-Star week break isn't as bad as the Pro Bowl. The Pro Bowl is just putrid. I think most people would rather watch the Shrine Bowl than watch the Pro Bowl weekend, whether it's the Pro Bowl game or the Pro Bowl festivities and whatnot. But yeah, the NBA is dumb. But back to the NBA, yeah, they're dumb of the week because Alden K said so, and I think it's a valid argument giving the NBA dumb of the week because fan voting is a thing. So yeah, I definitely think that fan voting should not be a thing. I think that they should get the input from other players and like GMs and coaches and the owners of teams on who should be all-stars and whatnot. It should just be down to the people, to the fans. I mean, the fans should get some sort of vote, but not all of it. Not like a majority of the vote. So that's just me. But the NBA is Dum Dum of the Week. So thank you to Alden K for recommending Dum Dum of the Week right there. And if any of y'all have a reasonable Dum Dum of the Week, let me know, and I will give Dum Dum of the Week to said person or organization. So that is going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I'm sorry if my camera quality just isn't like it was back when I did with Set Point or in weeks past, but it is what it is, and hopefully this whole camera glitch thing can stop, because if I turn my camera around, I'm not going to be able to see the banners and see the media outlets and whatnot. So hopefully I get this resolved by the time next week occurs. But until then, have yourself a great weekend. Enjoy all the SoCal sports action, even though the Rams and Chargers aren't playing in the Super Bowl, but that is okay. I will see you all on Monday for Set Point. Have a great weekend, everybody. And just remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Enjoy the weekend. Be safe, be well. And I will see you Monday for Set Point. Peace. And remember, SoCal is for SoCal.